my topic is how people can become a brand. And this is a concept which I wanted to introduce to everyone because not everyone wants to start their entrepreneurship journey, but they can be a freelancer, they can be an employee, and it can be implemented by anyone, probably even a college student as well, because that's how I started. So my journey of overcoming obstacles to create a meaningful brand. How did I start my journey? From lost to purpose drive, right? So when I say that we all are lost at some point of time, at certain age group, we all are lost. As in, when you're a student, you feel that whether whatever career you're pursuing, you want to do it forever or not. Maybe when you are in a mid-size, in your profession career, you always think that what you are currently doing, you want to create an impact in that particular field for a longer time, or you want to change that. You can understand how people react to certain situations, how they deal with it. So in order to that, by doing this in kind of internships, I understood the psychology of selling, and that's how I build my communication. And I understood that this is just a start, and I have to keep learning and I have to move forward. So that's the reason I did all these things, and from there I understood my purpose. First, to build the communication skills, and later on to grow and build a strong network. So finding my why, I believe that is very important if you want to focus on a long-term vision. So you need to have a very strong why, right? So my always long-term goal was to become an entrepreneur from the very beginning. So basically what I did is, I thought when I want to start a new business, so you need a heavy investment whenever you are doing any service, product based kind of things, right? As an entrepreneur, you always have to invest in your business first. And as a college student, we all can agree that we don't have funds to do that, right? Now there are a lot of fundraisings that are happening, but it's very tough to, have the idea and to ask for the funds. So what I planned is that initially, I'll do one thing. I'll speak to, I'll work with corporates, I'll work with Fortune 500 companies, I'll work with big companies, I'll get the experience, I'll get the exposure, and from there I'll try to build idea which is working, right? So what I did is, I thought LinkedIn is a great platform to communicate with senior CXOs to understand that mindset. Because my vision was very clear that I want to, at least I want to be a VP or director of a big company while growing in my career and later on probably starting my startup. So I wanted to understand those mindset. That mindset will create a big difference because not everybody will become a VP director, because when it comes to hierarchy, it becomes narrow when you go to the upper levels, right? So that is the reason I thought, let's understand the mindset of VP's director and try to implement in my very early stage of career, right? So I started reaching out to a lot of big Fortune 500 CXOs where there are a lot of times they didn't reply to me, but there were a few people who understood, who replied, and who gave time to me. So from there I got a lot of good learning. And that was the main purpose to be on LinkedIn, to be on the social media platform, so that I can hang out with like-minded people. Right? So the third point is pivot, persistence, and purpose. So you need to also understand that while you experiment with your career, there will be a time that there are certain ideas which will be clicked earlier, but when you start investing your time, you will understand that your interest doesn't lie. So that's the reason whenever you are in your early stage of career, specifically when you are in college right now, you can experiment. You can experiment with different internships. I did my technical internships, I did my sales and marketing internships. From there, I have built certain level of skills. I experimented. So similarly, when you need to understand that you need to experiment and you need to see what is working for you and what is not. And that is very important to make a difference in your career, right? So what ideas is working, you can implement it, and the ideas which is not. So you need to also understand that when you want to expand and when you want to build a brand, you want to build a brand for yourself or for your business, you need to understand that if you're doing offline, you're not on any social media platforms, usually what happens that you will be limited to certain areas, or probably you will be limited to certain cities, right? You can't go global. And if you want to go global, if you want to earn in dollars and spend in rupees, then you have to be on social media, because through social media you can target specific countries, you can target specific genre of people, okay, with whom you want to engage. So let's say if you're a camera shy person, if you're not confident in front of camera, so you can use platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, Medium, because it is basically a text-based platform, you can say. Let's say if you are not a writer, okay, you can't write 2000 words of sentences, then blogs, then you can't use Medium, right? You can use Twitter or LinkedIn. Let's say if you're not able to write short tweet, you don't understand how to express yourself in just few characters, so you can choose LinkedIn, or depending upon what kind of your personal preferences. Let's say if you understand, if you're very confident to face the camera, then of course you can use this YouTube, Instagram, Facebook platforms as well. So it depends. But why I'm telling you to be on social media, because that will create a difference. You can be a global guy, you can target specific genre, you can target specific countries to be a global person, and that is very much important. You can't keep your brand limiting to certain areas, limiting to certain cities. And remember, you are your own niche of your personal branding. When I say this, what I mean is basically that you don't have to hold 4 or 5 or 10, 20 years of experience, then only you can start your branding, then only you can talk about those particular subjects. No, whatever you're learning right now, you can also start talking about it. You can start sharing your perspective, because that is where you will start creating brand. Otherwise it will be too late. If you think that after 10 years or 5 years of experience I'm going to start, no, don't do that. You can take it as a challenge, you can share your learnings. That's how I started, and that's what I'll recommend to everyone, to explore and also to talk about it, because that will make a big difference. So I'll give you certain ideas, what other stats around this. So according to a survey by Entrepreneur, it's a very famous website, it says that 94% of respondents said that personal branding is very important for entrepreneurs, right? So the visibility is very important, and 68% said it is very, very, very important. It means it is very essential. Why? Because when you are doing business, you need to understand that business are done based on trust. Let's say if there are A, B, C, D options, right? And somebody close have recommended to option C to do the business, you will do that because you have that trust. So that is very important to build the trust. And how it happens, you can't just promote your company page with services and products. You need to build your own niche. You need to talk about your own things as well. You can talk about your struggles, you can talk about your achievements, you can talk about how you have overcome that, because these are the things where people can relate to it, where people can relate to their journey as well. And that's how you build the trust, that's how you build that engagement, which is very, very important. Embrace your uniqueness. That is super important. So as I said, that you don't have to be a super expert. So you can just there are a lot of you will see there are a lot of people who started their weight loss journey and they started documenting it. Let's say they are overweight, let's say they are 100 kg. So they started their weight loss transformation and they started documenting it. And people felt very inspired because they can relate to it. They are not the experts, they are not the trainers, or they are not this, but people relate to that journey. So that is very important, to document your journey and to create that differentiation. So that's why I recognize and appreciate what sets you apart from other fields, and appreciate what you are currently learning or what you are currently working on, because that is very important to start talking about it. Don't try to imitate or copy others. Be yourself. What I mean is basically you can get inspired by lot of good entrepreneurs, good speakers, good influencers, but you need to understand that you need to add your own values, you need to add your own things into it. Don't copy them. You have to show your uniqueness, then only people will follow you. Okay? And that's how you will be differentiated. Find ways to highlight your distinct qualities in your personal branding. As I said, that it is super important to highlight your uniqueness. Your unique identity should be there. That's how people will recognize you, and that's how people will understand your story. Okay, so those things are super important. Leverage your expertise. Identify the areas where you have the most solid experience with your current with your current journey. Understand and identify where your interest lies, where is your interest, where is your knowledge, what kind of experience you have. So start talking about this, because that is very much easy. And the best way to start is trending topics. Start give perspective on this, because because trending topics can be relatable to anyone. As I said, communicate your expertise through your personal branding message. So what message you put on social media, that is also very important, right? So it is very important to have that unique perspective. As I said, that you don't have to copy others, you have to have your brand messaging, and don't try to play with it too much. Try to experiment. If it doesn't work, then pivot. Okay, develop content that demonstrate your expertise and provide value to your audience, because this will create a big difference. Once you have the expertise, once you have that, once you have blend that with your story, it will create a unique proposition, and that is very important to build your brand. Okay, focus on your passion. You need to understand that we are not born to find a passion, but we need to work hard, have some practical exposure, like doing some internships, jobs, doing some life projects. From there, you need to have certain practical exposure. Then only you will understand that where your passion lies. You need to have that. You have to get out of your comfort zone. So that is very important. Passion, determination, and integrate it with your personal branding message. Because that's how it will help you to explore your new identity, and always have that unique USP where you can talk about your stories, you can talk about your personal journeys, you can talk about where your interest lies or what you want to learn. So, okay, strictly avoid strictly avoid things while you kickstart your personal branding journey, because it is very important to understand what mistakes you need to avoid, so that you can move ahead very quickly. So inconsistency is a very common habit. First, we will start. Let's say right now you are watching the TEDx, right? You are very motivated, but if you don't execute it, if you don't get this, few learnings which you want to execute, you won't be able to achieve anything. So that's the reason you have to do it consistently. And how you're gonna do that? By correcting your why and having a strong driven purpose. So inconsistent messaging, as in not being very consistent towards talking about or documenting your journey, talking about your expertise, not networking regularly to have that broad perspective, changing personal brand message too often. So this is also there. You can't pivot very regularly. So you need to understand that. Try for a few times, try for a few months, and see if it is not working, then only pivot. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Conflicting message about your personal values. So you need to understand, as I said, that there are certain personal values which you need to fix, and you need to drive those things around it. Over promotion. So there are a lot of people who starts bragging about their achievement, which is not good. Okay, so you need to talk about how you have achieved it, so that people can relate to that journey and they can also replicate the same thing. So don't oversell your personal achievement and credentials, and please make sure that you are not ignoring the feedback, which is very important. Make sure that you're listening to constructive feedbacks, right? Not any random negative comments. Okay, constructive feedbacks is very important to understand where you are going wrong and what are the ideas, what are the new ideas which you can talk about. Lack of authenticity. Pretending to be someone, you are not hiding your flaws. So these are the things where people can easily catch where you are going wrong. So it is very important to understand that you don't have to copy. You have to create a false persona. You have to be original. You have to understand. That basically you need to understand that creating false persona is not going to work for a long time. So you need to be very original, and you have to have that unique USP. And again, few statistics I wanted to highlight by Harvard Business School, that active social media platform having a large following, influence, trust. So basically, when you have a very good large number of following, you people start trusting you, people start understanding, and people start relying on your words. So that is very important to have an active social media platforms and try to distribute it smartly. And having a strong personal brand can actively help specifically entrepreneurs to raise funds and to have that investors around you. So why people follow your personal branding? It is very important to understand why people will follow your personal branding. Okay, because again, you might have the question that you are currently in your college, or maybe you're a fresher, or maybe you don't have that expertise. So you need to understand that you have to be very consistent. Maybe earlier people are not going to trust you, but later on, once you start building that consistent effort, people will start understanding people will understand your credibility, and that is very important to create a big difference. And interact with your followers. Many times people don't interact with their followers, so it is very important to interact with followers so that they feel that they are seen and they are heard. It is very important. And share your personal journey and struggles to show that success is achievable. As I said, you need to talk about your struggles, you need to talk about personal journeys. That is what other speakers have done here. They share their journey, they talk about this, so that the people can say that people can see that nothing is impossible, and they can achieve those success also, because people can relate to journeys. And encourage your audience to pursue their goal and dream. It is very important. Make them feel that it is not impossible to achieve their dream at any point of time, because that is where you will create a very good inspiration, and you will create a very good your unique USP. So thank you so much, and remember one thing: your personal brand is sum of total of your action, value, and impact you create around your people and the world. Thank you so much.